So let's talk about Switzerland. When you think about it, you probably picture the Alps, fancy watches, maybe some chocolate. And yeah, it's one of the wealthiest places on Earth. But here's the crazy part. On paper, it makes absolutely no sense. It's a country that just defies all the rules of economics.
So that's the big question, right? How on earth did this small, landlocked country with basically zero natural resources become one of the wealthiest nations on the planet? That's the puzzle we're going to try and solve. It's an incredible story of turning what should have been massive weaknesses into their greatest strengths. I mean, just think about the hand they were dealt. They're totally landlocked, which is a huge pain for trade. The whole place is basically one giant mountain range, so good luck with farming or building roads. They've got no oil, no coal, nothing to really dig up and sell. Heck, they don't even have one language to unite everyone. They've got four. And for centuries they were stuck, just squeezed between these massive, powerful empires. Seriously, this should have been a complete disaster.
Okay, so how did they do it? To really get it, we've got to look at how they took every single one of those disadvantages and, almost like magic, flipped them into advantages. It's a fascinating story, really, a nation built on one paradox after another.
The whole thing really kicks off way back in 1291. A few small regions called Cantons form a little defensive pact. Fast forward a bit, and this tiny confederation becomes this military powerhouse. Their mercenaries were the most feared soldiers in all of Europe. But then, 1515, the Battle of Marignano, they get absolutely crushed by the French. Now, a defeat like that could have just wiped them off the map. But instead, it became this massive turning point. A year later, they sign a peace treaty, and in doing so, they accidentally lay the groundwork for what we now know as Swiss neutrality. And this is so important to understand. Swiss neutrality? It wasn't some beautiful philosophical ideal. Nope, it was a cold, hard business decision, a really pragmatic pivot. It's like they said, okay, we can't win wars of expansion, so why bother fighting? Let's profit from everyone else's wars instead. They couldn't get bigger, so they decided to get smarter, to become this stable, essential hub right in the middle of all the chaos.
But to pull off that kind of neutrality abroad, you need to be rock solid at home. And to get there, Switzerland had to fight one last major war. And this time, it was a civil war.
So in 1847, you've got this long simmering tension that just explodes. On one side, you have the conservative Catholic cantons who want to keep power local. On the other, the liberal Protestant cantons who want a modern, unified federal government. It all comes to a head, and they go to war. But get this, the entire civil war lasted just 26 days. But in that short time, it would change absolutely everything for Switzerland.
The Protestants won, and what they did next was, frankly, genius. They could have punished their enemies, right? Rubbed their noses in it. But instead, they drafted a new constitution in 1848 with one goal in mind. Never let this happen again. It created the modern country we know today, but it was built from the ground up on compromise and sharing power. That whole mindset is still the bedrock of Swiss politics. And one of the core ideas was something called direct democracy. Now, why they do that? Well, the winners were smart. They knew that to keep the country together, the losers had to feel like they still had a real say, so they gave citizens the power to vote on laws directly, through referendums. This forces everybody to compromise, all the time. The system is slow, for sure, but man, is it stable.
Okay, and this is where it gets really, really Swiss. They are so allergic to putting too much power in one person's hands that they don't even have a single leader. Like a president? No way. Instead, the executive branch is a council of 7 people. Just think about that for a second. 7 people from different parties, and the presidency just rotates between them every year. The whole thing is designed to be slow and to force everyone to work together. The point isn't speed, it's rock-solid stability.
So what's the payoff for all this stability? It's trust. The kind of deep, reliable trust that, well, you can literally bank on. And this, right here, is when the Swiss economic rocket ship really takes off.
Check out this number, $2.4 trillion. That's how much foreign money Swiss banks are managing. Trillion. That is more than any other country in the world. And believe me, that did not happen by accident. It was the direct result of all those political decisions we just talked about.
Yeah, this is where all the pieces of the puzzle just click into place. You've got these 3 pillars that created the perfect recipe for becoming the world's bank. First, political stability. Your money is safe. Second, neutrality. When your country is falling apart in a war, Switzerland is the calm in the storm. And the final ingredient? Absolute banking secrecy. It was literally a crime for a banker to say who their clients were.
That was the ultimate magnet for foreign cash.
But we have to be honest here. This combination of neutrality and secrecy, it has a really dark side. During World War II, that secrecy made Switzerland the go-to banker for the Nazis. The Swiss National Bank took in huge amounts of Nazi gold, and a lot of that gold was looted, stolen from the countries they occupied and from the people they murdered. It's a powerful and chilling reminder that being neutral is a political choice, not always a moral one.
Okay, so let's tie this all together. How did this mix of politics, geography, and strategy lead to so much wealth? It really boils down to a two-part recipe. So on one hand, you have what you could call negative neutrality. This was basically a giant keep-out sign. They had a huge army, every citizen was trained, and they turned those mountains into an impenetrable fortress. The message to any would-be invader, like Nazi Germany, was crystal clear. Don't even think about it. It will cost you more than it's worth. But then there was the other side, positive neutrality. They made themselves so useful to everyone, as a place for diplomacy, for humanitarian aid, for finance, that it was better for all the warring countries to just leave them alone. They were too valuable to conquer.
And look, it goes way beyond just banking. That brand, that reputation for stability and trust, it spilled over into everything else. High-end, super specialized manufacturing, things like watches, pharmaceuticals, high-tech optics. All of it is built on that same global reputation for precision and reliability. The whole Swiss economic model is basically built on being the most trustworthy game in town.
So that all brings us to right now. This incredible Swiss model was perfected for a very different world, a world of constant European wars. But what about today? In our hyper-connected, globalized world, a world where even Switzerland has broken with tradition and sanctioned Russia, does that old model still work? Is it just a relic? Or does its intense focus on stability, trust, and thinking for the long term actually hold some really important lessons for all of us? That's the big question facing not just the Swiss, but maybe all of us.